Welcome to Sexy in Your 60s. This is a space for women 50 and beyond who are choosing to live with vitality, intention, and joy in this chapter of life and the ones ahead of us. I'm your host, Dvora Citron, registered nurse, National Board Certified Health and Wellbeing Coach, and Plant Strong advocate. On this podcast, we explore what truly helps women thrive in midlife and beyond through evidence-based health insights, real stories, practical strategies, and the deeper sense of meaning that makes life feel rich and connected. I intentionally chose the title, Sexy in Your 60s. When I use the word sexy, I'm not talking about sexuality or how we're seen. I'm talking about energy, confidence, presence, curiosity, purpose. Sexy is how you feel in your body. Sexy is how you move through the world. Sexy is knowing who you are and choosing how you want to show up. I believe this stage of life isn't about winding down. It's about waking up. Not in your 60s? You're still invited to join us. Each episode is designed to support you not just in how you live, but in how you feel in your body, your relationships, and your life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Menopause is one of the most profound transitions a woman experiences. And yet so many of us reach it without language, without witnesses, and without permission to speak honestly about what's happening in our bodies and lives. What's been missing isn't just better information, it's recognition, it's voice. The Menopause Monologues create space for women to tell the truth about this chapter, not to be fixed or explained away, but to be seen, heard, and held in community. Because when women claim their stories at this stage of life, something changes. Confidence deepens, perspective sharpens, and a new kind of presence emerges, one rooted in experience, agency, and self-trust. Today, I am honored to be joined by the creators of the Menopause Monologues, whose work is reshaping how we understand this powerful transition one story at a time. I'm really thrilled to introduce Lulu Braunstein, Carrie Vanhouten, and Lisa Anne Morrison. Thank you all for being with me today.
Oh,
You.
Laura, that was so beautifully
Yeah,
done.
can we use that? And like
Yeah.
that was
Can we put
Absolutely.
that?
I was just thinking that enough said, really, right?
Yeah. You're done.
So, for listeners who are not familiar with your amazing work, can you share how the Menopause Monologues came to be and why you felt it needed to be brought into the open?
We certainly can. And in fact, I'm going to hand it over to Kerry because she was the creative brain behind this. But just to preempt it with the fact that the three of us, each individually and together, found ourselves talking about menopause all the time with all our friends at any moment. And over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. A few years ago, I was getting monthly migraines. I had never had monthly migraines before. I didn't know what was going on. I was also having these waves of rage, which were unlike anything I've ever felt in the whole world. My poor husband. And it was kind of channeled at him, which is just kind of what happens. I don't know, he was the guy in the room.
The closest person.
Yeah. But like I was like writing in my journal about like the patriarchy, and I was like, and Matt, and like blaming him for like the whole world. Anyway, it was weird. I'm usually a very positive, happy person. So I called my sister, who's a bit older than me, and I was like, Julie, what's going on? And she said, Carrie, I think you might be going through perimenopause. And I was like, what? I'd never even heard of the word perimenopause. Menopause, I thought was like when you're, elderly. I didn't know. But she's like, no, Carrie, remember a few years ago when I went to all those doctors and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me? Well, yeah, that was perimenopause for me. And so she retold me her story about how she went to 3 different doctors, both genders, all genders, and they sent her to tests, and she got a biopsy, which was like expensive and painful.
Meanwhile, she was bleeding constantly.
She was bleeding for
30 days. Yeah.
She was bleeding for a month straight, and she didn't know why, and so she was trying to get help. She got no help. No one even mentioned the words menopause, perimenopause, hormones, nothing. And she just sort of went home at the end of it.
Relied on Google.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
She just self-diagnosed. Anyway, I was on the other end of the phone with my jaw just on the floor in horror that she had had such poor care. And she lives in Las Vegas, which isn't like rural America in some back country.
You'd think she would have had access to doctors that knew
Yeah.
what she was talking about. Yes.
Yeah. There are lots of doctors there and hospitals.
Yeah.
So I got really pissed off, and I channeled my new reason to be rageful in the world. And I was like, everyone needs to know about this story because we can all learn from each other. And I felt like giving her a microphone. So I had this idea, and I called up my theater besties, Lisa and Lulu. We'd been doing improv together for years, and Lisa was our acting teacher, and we just have a fun time on stage. And I said, how about we do this show and we call it the Menopause Monologues, so we could all help each other out, because it seems like we're all a little bit clueless.
Mm-hmm. And that, you know, every time anybody reaches this kind of age gap, we're not reinventing the wheel, but it should just be available knowledge and shared knowledge. We all realize that our mothers never told us anything, you know, hid it. Either they were ashamed of it or
Just
I
private.
can't think of anything. Yeah.
It just felt like it was nobody wanted to hear about it. That's
Yep.
what your mom said.
My mum said that. That was the genesis. And we both were like, yes, we'll do it. And we sort of crafted this show to include what we really wanted was like everyday women's stories, so that they were accessible to all of us. Like, as you said, you feel seen and heard when you see somebody telling their story. The most exciting thing for us when the show's going on and somebody's telling their story and you hear in the audience like, oh, it's me, you know, and whispering between the friends and whatever. It's very validating because it's power. Yeah.
The genesis was from your lived experiences. That's really what the Menopause Monologues is. It's the lived experience of every single person that you involve there. I was in such awe the first time I saw it, because it's so much more than a theatrical performance. You have women doing not just verbal monologues, but nonverbal monologues, expressing themselves, dancing, even painting. And it's just amazing. I don't think I made noise because I was just going like that. I love the term cultural repair. Was that an intention of yours? That it wasn't just going to be storytelling, that it was actually going to be cultural repair?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, anytime we give voice to something feels like we're not supposed to talk about it, or that there isn't space for it, we shift culture. For us, even just having one woman tell their story, their true story, and other people are there to hear it, that does shift culture. Like Lulu said, we really wanted to gather the experiences of the women that were here. We're in Northern California, in the East Bay. We really wanted to hear from the women who live here. What's it like around? Because we know what it's like for us. It was very local. A real estate agent friend of ours who told a hilarious story. It was a woman who was dealing with hot flashes at work. Then we moved to LA. We've done the show twice in LA now. It became a little bit more theatrical because the industry in LA is acting and theater and directors and film. We ended up with probably a little bit more of a theatrical performance with professional actors doing some of the roles that were already written, but also telling their own stories. Maybe for the first time, they play other characters all the time, but they've never told their stories. It's then now localized to LA. We're hoping to go into each culture of the city that we visit or town and lift up the women's voices there.
Wow, that's really interesting because obviously we have microclimates, but we have microcultures also.
Yep.
That's so empowering. What you have designed is just so dynamic, and it's going to evolve and change from situation, site, location, population.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's so exciting. This kind of project really sits at the intersection of art, health, education, activism. Can you talk a little bit about what theater can do here that medicine, podcasts, or books simply can't? What can this medium offer people?
Yeah. Go for
Should
it.
I go?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great question. I
Yeah.
love it.
I do too. It's something we thought about because there are other ways that we could try to collaborate and present, whether it's film or writing books or essays. Carrie mentioned we all come from theater to some degree. There is just nothing at all like being in the same room with strangers who you are bearing your soul, you are opening up your vulnerability in order to touch that person who's sitting in the room in the dark. You can feel the energy of the people there. There's breath, there's an aliveness, and there's an in the momentness to it that you can't recreate. So if you were at the Sunday matinee at 3 p.m., that's going to be really different than the 7 p.m. that evening. And that's incredibly special and immediate and visceral and emotional.
When you watch, you are watching something that has never been done before and that will never be done the same way again, ever.
When I watched the first time, Lana was doing the painting. I never have seen someone paint in real life. I went over to her afterwards and told her that. She almost started crying. Every live performance is one of a kind, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
I was going to say when Carrie said that, like, so I do a little poem, Carrie does a piece. And each time, even though it feels like the same piece, whatever you get, the reaction you get from the audience just affects exactly how you deliver it. It's such a two-way street. Because they're real stories and the truth, it makes it such a wonderful conversation between you and the audience and back again. You know, when you read a book and you're like, oh, everyone should read this book.
And you're alone. You're right there.
And then you gotta have a book club and you gotta have nibbles and a drink and whatever. This is like, we're all together. And certainly, I think all our shows, particularly are open, the first one up here, because it was kind of a hometown crowd. People just went off for hours and they said, we gotta go decompress and talk about all of this and sort through everything we've heard and learned and feel, because I had no idea that everybody was in the same boat, things like that. It was really wonderful live theatre for that and seeing immediate kind of reactions.
You're bringing up that so many women saw that and felt really heard, but it sounds like almost surprised that they had no idea that other people were going through this or going through something similar or even different. This is really a feminist project in so many ways, right? What felt most vulnerable, even risky, about launching this type of program in a public space?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I know for me, the first time we did it, we created it from nothing. We knew when we talked about it, we knew that the reaction was, oh, wow, we need this. But I remember my husband came and one of my sons came, I think. I just remember it was boys and men. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of talk about vaginas and there's a lot of talk about blood and menopause. Menopause is mentioned a lot. As it was coming out of my mouth, it sounded so silly, but I was terrified that they were going to be like, ugh, like, you know, at best roll their eyes, like, ugh, we don't want to hear this. At worst, offended, or it would make them retreat. And I know that scared
Yeah.
me a lot, that I felt like we don't really have the space to talk
It's
about this.
so
Are we
chaotic.
allowed?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the feminist space. Like, I remember thinking, God, I don't want to sound like whiny women, you know. And then you stop and you go, what?
What
Who
the?
am I? What?
Whose voice was
Whose
this?
voice is this? And where is this feeling coming from? I don't want to upset them. It's funny, actually, my father-in-law came to all the shows from LA. He's an endocrinologist. He was like, you did a bit of doctor bashing, but you didn't do any man bashing like this. And it was quite funny. He said, but the doctor bashing was kind of valid. It wasn't so much bashing, but it was highlighting the fact that doctors need more training. And
It sounds like it wasn't really intentional, but I imagine it is more now that this is evolving into a feminist tool. And whether it was not originally consciously that, is it becoming more of something that is being used to push back, not just cultural repair, but cultural protest? Are you pushing back against medical silence? We know that is for sure real. It still is. It's a huge problem. Ageism, gendered shame, is that becoming something that's more woven into your thoughts as you continue to create and recreate each of these productions?
From the beginning, it was feminist. I am a feminist and I have been since I was in elementary school, I think. So, yes, definitely. As far as our evolution, we really do listen to our contributors. Some of our contributors have written things that are more broadly feminist in its topics, like Kirsten Vangsness. Has a piece where she talks about the male gaze, right? She talks about political figures and what else did she say that's feminist?
Well, her whole
Yeah,
piece
it's really-
is strongly feminist, and it's in your face feminism. It's really about how we turn ourselves in knots as women to satisfy the male gaze.
make ourselves small.
Yes.
and obedience.
We're nothing. We're
and
not.
quiet.
Yes, she confronts that. She even plays a character that is the male gaze. And what's going on in our country right now, and the current administration, and how helpless and confused and angst filled that we feel every single day. We do feel like this is our way, a way to protest, a way to put women on stage to talk about things that the other side would not really want to hear about. And that we're here. We are proud of where we are. We believe that this time in our life is making us stronger and better. And we're going to talk about it more, and we're going to talk about it to our daughters, whether you all like it or not.
Yeah, I just heard a well said, Lisa. Absolutely. And I just heard the other day. I have two things. I got two things to say. Fascists hate art, so we need to all keep making art. And nothing is more threatening to the white Christian patriarchy than a non-conforming woman. So
I saw your post.
yeah.
We embrace that.
Yep.
The women who perform their monologues, do you call even the artistic ones that are nonverbal, do you call them monologues also?
Yeah.
They're such personal, really embodied stories. How do you decide when a story is ready to be shared publicly or it's still too raw and too vulnerable?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
Oh, it is a good question. It's such a wonderful process that we go through, and they come from all different areas. So people can submit online, they might submit an idea, they might submit an entire story that had already been written.
They might have a conversation with
And they might just have a conversation. We've got a handful that came from interviews and we've scribbled down things or recorded. It's definitely a process with the original contributor, author, idea giver. At some point, they just feel right. And sometimes they are more raw and less polished, um and that feels right. There's one that I just love that we almost skipped over, which is the really short one, lying on the floor, on the cement floor. She's just called Hot Flash. It's like 5 lines long. Literally, we almost were like, well, that's not really a monologue, move on. And then we went, hang on a minute. It's this wonderful, just so simple, raw, honest piece. I don't know how we decide.
Each one is really different. The process of it can be different. In the end, this is what we say to everybody. We're going to help you shape it. The writing of it, I'll help you shape it, when you perform it. It has to be absolutely yours. So there could be some times where we really get in there and maybe we get in there a little too much and we have to pull back and say, does this sound like you? Does this feel like you? That's the cornerstone, is that it is their voice. We have women talking about, sometimes it's a little bit more on the surface. It's funny. It's about itchy ears and being annoyed. And then we have stories where women are talking about how they can't stay in their family anymore because they're going through too much and their family doesn't understand it. It's very, very vulnerable. We have to take care of everybody and make sure that they feel really supported, really held, that their vulnerability isn't, that we're not exploiting it in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really profound what you just said, that you're not exploiting their vulnerability. I can't think of a more vulnerable live performance I've ever seen before. Some of it is very rehearsed, but I imagine that some of those monologues, they're just so authentically raw and real. They have to be in the moment. That's beautiful to hear how you have that intention of protecting them in their expression.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to shift to humor. Humor. Carrie, did you bring your puppet?
Oh,
Wait, what?
Oh,
Oh,
did
what's
you
the
bring your
question?
puppet?
Puppet.
Where's your puppet?
Yeah, do you want to see her? Okay.
Go get her.
She loves the spotlight.
Carrie has a puppet, and it's the pink vagina puppet.
oh yes, it is. Woohoo!
Yay.
Yes.
As serious and vulnerable as so much of this production is, it also integrates humor and laughter, which is so important when we're trying to access menopause and the themes of pain and rage and grief.
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback, tears of laughter and tears of pain throughout.
Here she comes.
Throughout the show, slightly afraid.
Does the pink vagina puppet have a name?
My name is Caroline's Vagina.
Okay.
First name Caroline, name Vagina.
Humor is so important in accessing menopause, especially because of the vulnerability of pain, rage, and grief. So, what does the absurdity of humor allow us to say that seriousness prevents us from saying?
Serious, heavy energy, and it's harder to move when things are heavy. So when you're in a room together and you laugh, everything gets lighter, and the bad stuff just kind of floats out of the room, and everybody leaves and feels better afterward.
Absolutely. We know even from clinical studies that playfulness is healing. Thank you so much. It was so great to have this special appearance.
I was just going to add to that when you're laughing, you're relaxed. There's a relaxation that happens all over your body. Your mouth is often open. You can take something in through you can receive kind of through your mouth and down through your body, and it's in a relaxed state. And then there's that sharing of that sound of joy that's all around you that does this incredible thing. It's like you can take the harder stuff because you're in that relaxed state in community, sharing something that is still heavy. It's still very, very heavy. But because you can hear that everybody can relate, you feel really taken care of.
You explained that psychology of humor so well just now. There's the endorphins that go up, the breathing, the body relaxes more. Did you infuse the humor in that way intentionally to make the seriousness of it and the raw vulnerability of the other performances?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
intentionally,
Yes.
I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, was it
I do.
intentional?
Yeah, yeah.
We wanted to make an entertaining show.
Well, for sure, but I think the humor was there. I mean, this is the way we as women handle things as well, right? We often, humans, and not just women, there's that sort of Schadenfreude part of it, which is, it's all so terrible, all we can do is laugh.
Yes. Yes. See, you hear that so much. If I didn't laugh, I'd cry. Um, I think that we knew consciously, maybe not in the beginning, maybe we didn't set out for it, but we knew very quickly that having women laugh together in the room was a really important
Yeah.
piece, a really integral way to let people know that this is a safe space and that we can all share together, that you're invited, that everybody's invited in.
As an educator and a teacher, always want to make sure you understand and know what's going on with your bodies and your health. The teaching that happens in this experience is landing more for people because of that opening of the experience of humor and laughter and shared experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Well,
amazing.
so much that's
Um,
heavy right now.
Mhm.
It's nice to be able to lighten the load.
Yeah, to give
Mhm.
the chance to laugh is nice these days.
Very appreciate that. We can describe menopause as an experience for women as not just a biological change, but also reorientation of the self. I'm wondering if you've noticed patterns of identity shifts in the women that are telling their stories.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Emphatic yes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even from when we started, we're seeing some of the performers that have performed with us a few times. We have an incredible dancer. Her name is Yuki Fujimoto. She's incredible. When she first created her piece, her dance piece, it was red lights and rage and anger, and she was unabashedly angry, and she felt very strongly that she did not want her piece to end in something nice. She wanted to express her rage and then get off the stage. Now she's doing a piece with us and she's changed. She has more acceptance. She has a little more humor. We are shifting so much at this age. I know, then I'll shut up, but I know, at least for me, I'm a toxic people pleaser. I've been that my entire life. It is changing. I mean, I hit 51 or 2 and when I was really in the throes of menopause, and it was like, how is it possible that I cared so much about this before and now I don't give a shit. I'm so sorry. I don't care anymore. It's been incredibly freeing for me, and it's been hard on the people in my life who are used to me being one certain way. If it's an identity, it's shifting, and that's a big positive to menopause.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's really beautiful to hear one of the actors in our show in LA said that she was feeling really not good about her body recently since rehearsing our show. I think she said this to us like mid-run. Since rehearsing and being on our show, she completely feels differently about her body and has been talking nicer to her body, and that feeling of shame and judgment that was in her own mind about it was totally just disappeared. So that was really rewarding to hear.
That's amazing. I'm not sure that's what you expected or intended, but it's just beautiful to watch. I want to go back and speak to the audience experience. What do you notice that happens in the audience simply by people witnessing these stories together?
To witness what the audience kind of goes through as they're
Yeah.
watching. These two are backstage because they're both in the show, but I do get to watch the audience and it's amazing. Like Lulu said, they'll be smacking each other, laughing at something and going, "That's me." Or we've had painting in every single one with a nude model, over 50-year-old nude model. Tears. My husband, just tears ran down his face. We've had standing ovations in the middle of the show.
In the middle of the show.
For that model and that art piece. Yes. You know what? There's also, I'm going to say, I've seen a couple men walk out. I haven't noticed that. Yep. I've seen some people who look very uncomfortable. So it's not always this kumbaya perfect thing. It elicits a response.
My
I
parents watched the YouTube video of it from New York where they live. And the opening is the overreacher. There's a half a second flash of a bloody pad in the overreacher. My mom had invited her friends, they're all in their 80s, over to watch their little baby girl's show. It was really, I think she was embarrassed.
Yeah.
She felt really shocked. And she also told me like she didn't like the F words in our show. And I think my dad left the room. So, you know, it's going to land on different people, different ways.
I have a little bit of a similar experience having a podcast and a program called Sexy in Your 60s. A lot of people hear that word sexy and they can't handle it and they don't understand why I have to use that word. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that reaction because I think that it invites dialogue.
Yes.
Even if those people have trouble with whatever your presentation they're uncomfortable with, they're walking away and it's making them think
Yes.
and question, right?
Yeah. I can't unsee it, but I mean that in the best possible way. It's like sinking slowly, you know, seeping in. Talk about activism. My daughter, my youngest at our first show was 17. Some of the hilarious commentary out of her about seeing mothers that she's grown up around on stage bearing things and themselves and da-da-da. But we were all together at a production meeting quite recently, and she came in having had a sexual health physical therapy appointment as an 18-year-old, and she was telling us all about her appointment. You know, what actually it got to me because I thought this would never have happened if we hadn't opened the conversation and just made it
okay.
Vagina is a word that's said.
Yes.
Well, Lisa
Period.
and I were at your house when she
Yeah,
came
that's
home.
what I
She's like, "Oh, there's the vagina ladies.
Yeah.
Let's talk."
That's so
Yeah.
See, you've started a cultural revolution.
yeah.
Have any of you ever read the book The Red Tent?
Yeah, love
So
that.
in The Red Tent, it's biblical times and they have these common spaces where women can share these feminine developmental times, having your period, childbirth. They're all connected, even though they're private within a tent. I wondered if you'd ever think about that menopause is a threshold. We're being invited into a transition, but it's in private, right? The experience of menopause is a transition. The red tent describes how in biblical times there was a container for that in the culture. What you just described was a container that you created that your daughter could come home and talk about an experience that she didn't really have a place, a comfort space for. So that's
Well,
pretty
it made me
profound.
think of me and where my comfort space was at her age, and I didn't have it. I didn't have it at all. My mother was wonderful, you know, did nothing wrong, but we didn't have that space where I could, and I'm thinking of all the years that I would have had a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or just been more educated.
Yes,
Been
more
more
Well,
educated.
that's
What the hell is going on
Yeah.
from puberty on?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, one of the concepts you bring into light in your program is health equity and medical care.
Mhm.
And you bring in, I think you do this in each performance, you bring in a gynecologist, not only just a gynecologist, but one that's specifically trained in menopause care. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah. A menopause expert, they can be a sexual wellness expert. They're often, trained doctors and out of the menopause society, so that this is science-backed information that we're giving. Yes, after every show, we invite a local doctor, local to where we're at, to answer any questions that the audience has that they may have had before or that came up during the show. It is our way to give a little bit of access to these people, because even in LA, I can't remember if we said this earlier, we were absolutely staggered how few people have insurance or any access to a doctor that would help them through this process. We just thought that actors, like all about themselves and consider, and I don't know, would have access. It's extraordinary to us how few people have access to people that actually have knowledge. So yeah.
Our audience Q&As after each show with these amazing experts is one of the things I feel most proud of in our whole format. I'm so happy to offer that.
At the last performance I was at, you specifically mentioned that it is a part of intentional service that you're offering to your communities. I loved how you put it that way, because as you're all saying, access to that level of gynecological care, especially for women perimenopause and up, is very narrow. There aren't enough practitioners most of the time. Hopefully that's changing. That's going to change more quickly than it has been. But most of the time, even the gynecologists you go to train to give the most current, up-to-date care.
Yeah.
Even women with insurance have a hard time finding that kind of practitioner. It's wonderful that you make that
Well,
available.
it also gives our audience members the power to go into their own doctors and push a little, because I mean, even I had to push my own doctors at Kaiser whenever I don't have that power, that knowledge, that like, but wait a minute, I heard, I just learned, or and we give them permission to say, no, you must push back and ask again and say, could I perhaps talk to somebody else? Or, and it gives them the strength to do that, because doctors can be intimidating, I find.
Absolutely. All doctors across the board need more education on how to take care of us as we age, because we want to age for a long time. We want to be healthy and we need better care. One of the most important parts of what you're doing is giving women voice.
Historically, as we all know, women have not been the most important part of the population in so many ways, but especially the world of medicine and care. Right now, only 5% of women globally even get menopause care, even receive any kind of menopause care. It's changing a little bit in medical school. This is what we're learning, that they're getting some menopause training. But we had a doctor in LA, a man who stood up, probably 80 years old, I think a surgeon, who said, I got no training, nothing. Every medical student should watch this show. He wanted to create a tour of medical schools for us to go to. So
This might get very busy now.
yeah, very busy,
So
right?
your show is so special. I'm sure the demand for it's going to continue and grow exponentially because each one is different, as you described all the different variables. Have you thought about what you're going to be most protective of about preserving and what you're going to let evolve about the show?
Great question. So many good ones.
We like to preserve the Q&A I like to preserve the
Brass tacks. She's like, this.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I know. I want to preserve the variety in
Mhm.
which we have contributors express themselves, so that it's an exciting dynamic.
We always come back to this. I want it to stay real. I don't want it to be, somebody else. It's each everyday woman's story, because that's really who we're after, who we want.
And that's what makes it so relatable. Even now, I can feel that feeling in my stomach when I watched all those women. When it was funny, I was laughing. But when the women were bearing their souls and their bodies and everything, you have this vicarious experience with them because you know it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to reach as many women as we can. And not just women. Sorry. We want to reach as many people as we can, because menopause affects everyone. We want to grow in the way that we would like to just get as much reach as possible, so that we are in a position to possibly change someone's trajectory in their life.
We have an incredible doctor, one of the lineup for our New York show, and she commented on the M Factor documentary.
Okay.
One of her takeaways, I just saw it this morning, Carrie shared it with us, was how menopause is an inflection point, not what was the not
It's
the
not a
end,
decline.
not a decline, an inflection point. That's how our
Yes.
show feels as
Yeah.
well. It's like we want that to be so much of it.
Yeah, this
is
isn't the
tiny.
end.
Yeah.
This isn't is your life is not over. You're gonna you can have
Oh.
amazing sex.
I was just about to say, our wise woman of the show that you saw the other day, who is 82, and she is talking about how her husband and she are having fabulous sex still, and having been through a bad patch, where I will be the first to say I've been through that bad patch, not interested at all, and hello, they're in their 80s.
She was great. I loved her.
That was great.
I've just spent 25 years as a school nurse in a high school. I have 3 kids. When my kids were teenagers, I was a high school nurse. We're talking about how we want the doors to be open and the conversations to be open. What's one conversation you hope that mothers and daughters, even mentors to young women, can finally start to have as a result of what you are doing?
Because we're Gen Xers, we just didn't have these conversations at all with our mothers. It just didn't happen. We just want to normalize every change we go through as a woman and make it like Lulu's daughter had that, because Lulu has shifted, and she came from a mother who didn't talk about it. There's something about Gen Xers. We don't take that shit.
Yeah.
We're like, we're sorry, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it. I know I have 2 daughters too. That already is definitely shifting the way we talk about sex, the way we talk about birth control, the way we talk about relationships. The harder stuff that felt so icky or scary to talk about, I think that's what I would hope for, that it spurs on those kinds of conversations.
It's funny when you said my mother didn't talk about it, it's just making me think this is the trajectory. My mother really wanted to, but she couldn't. I didn't want her to. It was awfully embarrassing anytime she tried to get at all open or vulnerable with me. But she really wanted to, and she wasn't given the language or the confidence or whatever it was to do it. I didn't allow it for her because I was coming from that space. Being able to overcome that myself, even, I mean, God, I wouldn't have, I tried to with the girls, my girls, but they were sort of, ooh, yuck, yuck. And then when the youngest comes in and is so open because of it, because she was at home with us on her own the last year, my older daughter, I was laughing about this with her, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know that I would have said any of that in front of all you." And I was like, "I know, and that's the joy of this." But now, because she's heard her sister say it, it's like, so that is the trajectory in us. slow drip, right?
Elsa also got to ride in the car with us for 9 hours.
That's
With the three of us.
You heard it all.
Seeing the Caroline's vagina, when you think about sex ed for teenagers, they should use those kind of puppets.
Yeah. Right. Who tell the truth about what they're going through.
It's great when people hear information in the same space. That's what happened with your daughter, Lulu, because she heard the information in the same space as you. Maybe something can evolve out of this as a parent-child kind of space for communication.
Yeah. So wonderful. Also, just being in the same space with all ages, all genders, all everything, husbands, partners, whatever, learn so much as well, and grow so much from it and understand. Oh, yeah.
We all have sons too that have all heard the same thing, and they're gonna
All big supporters of the show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's really important.
Those sons might have wives one day and daughters one day. Mine do.
Yeah.
Yeah, men have got to be feminists too.
That's it.
I have thoroughly enjoyed and appreciate this experience with all three of you. People will be able to read details about your amazing backgrounds in the show notes. And I know people are going to want to find out more about the Menopause Monologues and how listeners can stay connected to you. And I'll put that in the show notes also, but can you just tell us a little bit about that right now?
Love to. Thank you for asking. So the easiest thing for them to do is follow us on Instagram. We are the.menopause monologues. We also have a Facebook page that they can follow. We are accepting submissions to be a part of the fun of our show 24/7. You can submit your story and share with us anywhere in the world, 365.
Where is that? Where can they share it?
On our website, which is great. I love our website. I'm a big fan. There's a get involved and then submissions.
On themenopausemonologues.org.
Thanks, Lisa.
And then we have a show coming up in New York at the end of April to May, April 30th, May 3rd at Here Arts Center, which we love to say is the theatre that V, who was known as Eve Ensler, developed the Vagina Monologues out of. And she's a member there. She knows about our show and feels so right to be there and to be supported by them. We're excited. Come and see it.
Yeah, and this weekend we're going to New York, and this podcast will be published after that, but we just can't wait to get to know the New York community.
Yeah, they're holding the workshop there to meet and develop.
It's a great neighborhood. I looked up the theater. I love that neighborhood. Lots of great places there. You have workshops before you hold the performances. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because that's just so special. That's so unique.
I want to do this.
Wait. Can I just interject? One more way they can be involved is to donate money.
Yes.
Which we would really appreciate because we are only grassroots. We're not corporate backed fancy people. Nope. We rely on donations from everyday people. So you can donate on our website too.
Live theatre is expensive and we want to honour not just the cast, the women who are putting themselves out there, but the crew. They're back there. They don't get their faces out there, and theatre people need to be able to live. Yeah. We base our mission on 3 pillars: to listen, to share, and to serve. To listen is we set up these workshops in the areas that we're going to be putting up. These 2 are going this weekend to New York, holding a workshop. It's generally advertised through word of mouth, sometimes a little bit more social media.
The workshop happens before the performance. I wonder if there would be an opportunity to do a post-performance workshop. You've got that captive audience that is going through this amazing experience, and I would imagine would love a follow-up opportunity. Before we wrap up, ladies, I ask one final question at the end. Given how much your work centers on voice and lived experience, what does sexy mean to you right now?
What I think of as sexy at this age is being able to walk around like this and putting your best foot forward and not worrying about what other people think. It's a freedom to really express how you feel, and an understanding that you should have started that a long time ago.
What sexy means to me right now in my life. Sexy means feeling free, feeling not judged, not judging myself, being funny. When someone is funny, I'm just really enjoying humor from the people around me. There's nothing better than making someone laugh. That's probably the sexiest thing ever.
What sexy means to me right now is shifting away from trying to mold myself into the expectations of the male gaze, shifting towards a really deep and sincere appreciation for the miracle that is my physical body. Seeing my stretch marks as freaking badges of honor. Like, how amazing that I brought 3 humans into this world, and seeing my soft, fleshy belly as cute. I think of my body as cute. My flaws, my imperfections. It's cute and it's soft and it's sweet. I think about my wrinkles on my forehead, and I think that life has been surprising. I have been always surprised by my life. That's why my forehead is so wrinkly. And my crow's feet, first of all, crows are awesome and their feet are adorable. And I have them because I have had a life of smiling and happiness. What a privilege. Feeling sexy is just totally flipping that framework, that old programming on its ass, and just accepting myself ferociously.
Thank you. I appreciate your vulnerability and your candid honesty, and I think you all are amazing and sexy. Thank you so much, ladies. As we close, what stays with me from this conversation is the role awareness plays in this stage of life. Aging has a way of giving many of us permission to ask how we want to feel, to loosen our grip on external validation, and to choose differently based on what's true right now. What this work makes clear is that menopause isn't something to manage quietly or push through alone. It's a moment that invites honesty, voice, and connection, an inflection moment. Menopause isn't an ending, it's a recalibration, a reorientation. When women are given space to tell their stories without shrinking or apologizing, and with support and encouragement, we don't fade with age. We step forward, and that's sexy. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to take the next gentle step by downloading the Sexy in Your 60s Starter Guide, a free resource designed to help you reflect on what supports your energy, vitality, and sense of connection in this season of life. You'll find it linked in the show notes or at slant2plants.com/starter-guide. You can also explore more of my work, including health coaching, plant-forward nutrition, and resources for vibrant living at slant2plants.com. And for the ultimate transformation, join the Sexy in Your 60s coaching experience at sexyinyour60s.com. If this episode spoke to you, please consider following the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone who might need it right now. That's how these conversations continue to grow. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and stay boldly, beautifully sexy, exactly as you are.